Even if you don't have any medical records from your time during your military service, I'm going to show you how to get approved using the PACT Act, and we're going to touch on jet fuel exposure and the sort of labyrinth that can be done there. A lot of interesting things. Fellow vets, I'm Jordan Anderson, VA Claims Academy. Let's get into this. We already know that the PACT Act is something that really was focused on, and a lot of the attention goes toward burn pit exposure, right? We're talking about a lot of Gulf War veterans even. These things could have these respiratory impacts long term, and the government has said, hey, you know what, if you have COPD, bronchitis, sinusitis, rhinitis, these certain different chronic ailments, they are presumptively service connecting those conditions, provided that you meet a couple of criteria. On the screen right now, you're going to see just a brief list from va.gov of the sort of conditions and where you had to have been, the sort of locations and times that qualify you. The link is in the description below for more of that information. Which, that's all well and good, but what does this practically mean? And what's the difference between a presumptive condition and something that isn't? Well, essentially, if you have this diagnosed condition, whether it's migraines even, neurological conditions, Meniere's disease, there are whole different pathways now to get service connected for these conditions, because the VA has conceded officially now through Congress, through this congressional bill, that you know what, there were some things that you were exposed to in your military service where before you really had no voice to convince the VA that this led to big problems down the line. We're talking different cancers even. Now there's a pathway, and it's expanding as the research comes in, even about jet fuels. We're talking about JP5, JP8 jet fuel exposure. We know that this could lead to Parkinson's disease. It's looking like the research is showing all kinds of neurological disorders, different cancers. So if you're wondering, hey, does my condition qualify for, service connection? And I want to be clear, the jet fuel part, it's still very early. This is expanding. So whereas the other respiratory PACT Act conditions, which are explicitly laid out, hey, if you were diagnosed with chronic rhinitis and you served at this place at this time and you were exposed to burn pits, you are presumptively service connected. There's no sort of nexus letter needed. The jet fuel one does require a nexus letter. It is not explicitly outlined as being a presumptive condition. But again, I want to tell you that there's a big can of worms, that if you feel like, hey, you know what, I was an aircraft mechanic, I came back drenched and I have all these different issues. I know it's service connected, I know it's service related. If you can get your doctor expert to go ahead and agree with you, if they agree that, hey, it's at least as likely as not, get a nexus letter, get it documented, and go for it, because now, more than ever, people are getting approved. So I'm going to tell you your action steps for what you should do if you want to go ahead and apply for these benefits. I don't want it to just be another content video where it's in one ear, out the other. In order for this to have a real impact on you and your household, you need to do a couple things. The first one, do some research into the PACT Act. Read a few paragraphs, see if the service dates, the times, the locations apply to you, and even the more vague type of elements within the PACT Act, which I'm going to get to one at the very end here, that's a big time catch-all in a bit. But see if this applies to you. If it does, secondly, I want you to open up what's called an intent to file. You can do this on va.gov. I'll leave links for both these things in the description below. You could even use your local veteran service organization or VA accredited agent to go ahead and file for you. The reason why you want an intent to file and why I want you to do it today is because it'll open up a 12-month window for you to finish submitting your claim. So you can open this up today, and effectively, if you get your increase, you get your rating, it's essentially making sure that you get paid from the very end of this video starting today. Third, make sure that your diagnosis for these conditions, aren't super old, right? So if the last time you went to the doctor for your sinusitis or, something else, your headaches, your migraines, your vertigo was a couple of years ago, you're definitely going to want to get treated more recent, because on paper, the VA is going to assume that you've healed, even if that's not the case. So make sure that your treatment is up to date. And lastly, make sure you have good lay evidence. This is just something to make sure that you write your true story down in a way that's succinct and in a way that the VA will be receptive to. Make sure to look up either tutorials here on YouTube, or I do a lot of this, first link in the description below, of teaching people how to write personal statements, or even going ahead and providing fully written personal statement templates. Last thing I'll leave you with, and this is a thank you for watching this far, I'm going to talk about a big catch-all that essentially allows you to submit pretty much any condition under this umbrella. I'm talking about the MUCMI sort of loophole or clause in the PACT Act. This MUCMI, this acronym stands for Medically Unexplained Multi-Symptom Chronic Illness. If you're thinking, hey, what the heck does that mean? Really, no one knows what it means, okay? It can mean anything, so it means nothing. You could argue that a lot of the gastrointestinal issues, GERD, things like this could have been due to this MUCMI phenomena. This is a very sort of new, novel catch-all in the VA claims world, and certain things are just getting approved. I've seen someone, a client with sleep apnea got approved under this. It's massive, and sleep apnea is not technically a PACT Act condition, but they still got it approved as a presumptive condition. Again, very case by case, but when in doubt, go ahead and either talk to your doctor to see if they agree, or have your VSO, have a discussion with them and say, hey, should I file this under the MUCMI? But do some research into this as well, because it's a very interesting catch-all term, which allows veterans to get approved on sort of a one-off, case-by-case basis, just because it's so new and certain raters just might agree with you and you just don't know. So if you have a Hail Mary of a case, is what I'm saying, go ahead and explore the MUCMI route, because it could just be the way to your approval and not many people know about it. So I hope this helped you out. Hit the like button and share it with someone who needs it. There are a lot of folks who need to hear this information. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.